Tackle from behind, loses the ball, it's rolling around. Can Kozad fall on? They finally force a turnover.
He's at the 50, he breaks it back, comes back across the grain. He's gonna go. Hail Caesar.
Pummels of football coming up with it is Gothenburg, and that's going to be a return for a touchdown. Makes the catch at the 35, breaks a tackle, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Loomis. Welcome back to the Press Box Preview as it is week 11 of high school football here on KRVN. John Willis, Scott Foster with you. It is quarterfinal time throughout all classes, and we saw a lot of area teams in action this past week.
Yeah, we really did, and not a particularly good week for all the area teams, but one, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you know, some big ones. Kearney was a big second half to beat Columbus 24-7 to knock out the Discoverers. Fort Calhoun in a game we went to. First of all, let me say, great facility there. One of the best that we've been to. Tough game. Gothenburg was a mash unit. More kids getting hurt, but they kept fighting and gave themselves an opportunity at the end, but ended up losing 20-13. And then one-seeded Howells Dodge, good as advertised, as they won 44-8. Archangels Catholic then routed Loomis 50-3 in that one, and that was a tough matchup there too. Sandhills Thedford avenged a week 1 loss also as they knocked, and you knew this was going to be a battle. Oh, yeah. That was going to be fun. As they knocked off Anselmo Murta 28-20.
Yeah, that game lived up to the billing after that 36-34 game week 1. That was a fun one, and hey, 12 seeded. They're still rolling. They're still going.
That's pretty impressive.
All right, this week we just have one playoff game. It's a 6-man game as 6-seeded SEM is at 3-seeded Southwest. That'll be at 6 p.m. on 880 KRVN. Well, the experienced postseason team in SEM, they looked the part this last week in the first round of the playoffs. They dominated Potter-Dix by a 62-14 final, and you just kind of get that feeling that now that we're here in the playoffs again, SEM could be figuring things out at the right time.
Yeah, you know, the old cliche is winning begets winning, and these guys know how to do it. You got to learn how to win. They know how to win, and they've been part of some great runs the last couple years. I think in order to win, we got to see Chance Dakey at quarterback really be a factor. He went 5 out of 8, 198 yards. That's a good 3 touchdowns, pretty good QB rating there. And, of course, you can always rely on Jordan Scoville to just run over people and stuff like that. So those two have really got to have a good game here.
Yeah, and you feel you can always kind of rely on Jordan. He's been a huge part of the offense. I think they just need kind of both of those aspects to have success. Yeah, now they face a good Southwest team, but they don't have nearly the experience that SEM does in the postseason. They've been to the playoffs 3 straight years, but they have not won a playoff game since 2006. But, Scott, that didn't seem to faze them in the first round last week, winning 60-6.
Well, they've got some players. Houston Billeters, a great player, all-state level quarterback, maybe 1,500 yards passing, 29 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. You know, they haven't won a lot in the playoffs, but this is a team that they're not intimidated by because they beat them earlier. So, you know, I think that it's a big deal that they're here in the playoffs and they're playing a team that they know at home.
He's also the team's leading rusher, 610 yards, 14 touchdowns. He is a weapon and will be hard to stop. They've been able to be pretty balanced this year as well. They run a lot out of that kind of up back, pitch back to the quarterback. So we'll see how this one goes. Again, as Scott mentioned, 65-30 win for the Rough Riders back in mid-October. Billeter had a monster game in that one, 379 yards passing, 111 yards rushing, 7 total touchdowns. But you know SEM is chopping for a second shot at Southwest.
You know that when the playoff brackets came out, they were looking forward to getting a chance to avenge that loss to the Rough Riders. I think we have 2 very confident teams coming into this one.
All right, other area games to watch. We have one on our sister station. Sandhills Thedford is at St. Mary's. That's a D2 playoff game that'll be on our sister station. K-Bear. Class A, maybe an interesting one. 8-seeded Kearney going at number 1 Omaha West Side. It's going to be a long trip to take on the number 1 seed. Now, you can argue Millard South is probably the best team in Class A, but this will still be a tough matchup for the Bearcats.
I think so, but, you know, what do they have to lose? You're the 8. you got just let her out, and I like that kind of a matchup sometimes.
In Class C2, Archbishop Bergen, GICC, and then a team we've talked about a lot this year, 3-seeded Kearney Catholic hosting 6-seeded Malcolm. They keep winning, and they keep winning close.
Yeah.
But the fact that they found ways to win in close games has to definitely benefit them.
Oh, I think that shows confidence. They stay in games, and they have confidence in the end. Don't sleep on the Stars here. They could be a tough out for sure.
Class D1 having DCS hosting a playoff game, and then the team we mentioned in the open, Sandhills Thedford, trying to keep their run going. Big one here at St. Mary's. Obviously, they've already knocked off a little bit of an upset last week against Anselmo Myrna, but sometimes a team just gets hot, and that might be what Sandhills Thedford's doing right now.
Yeah, and you always want to be hot this time of year as a 12 seed, just get things going. St. Mary's, tough place to play up there in O'Neill, and again, there's a team that knows how to win.
Well, again, lots of great playoff action. We are getting closer and closer to the finals, and just a couple weeks left for that. That'll do it for this Week 11 edition of the Press Box Preview. Again, this week it's 6-man playoff action. SEM will travel to Bartley to take on Southwest. Kickoff at 6 on 880 KRVN. Scott and Darren Hanson will bring it to you. Enjoy this week's games, and thanks for tuning in to the Press Box Preview.